Welcome to the 12 Report with Blessings Mosugu, and these are the headlines. Nigeria to receive stronger support from France to tackle insecurity. Federal government secures release of 100 school children abducted in Niger State. Benin President Talon assures situation under control after coup attempt. And as usual, we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country and beyond. Sagir Ibrahim and Sumeya Abubakar joins us from Abuja. Emmanuel Bagudu joins from Kano. Victor Mbadike is here in Lagos, while Mbongani Siziba joins from South Africa. We've got the details in a moment. Let's start off by telling you that the Global Coalition of Pensioners have suspended its planned naked protest, originally scheduled for Monday, 8 December 2025. The demonstration was intended to draw attention to unpaid 6-month arrears of 32,000 naira pensions, delayed 25,000 naira palliative payments dating back to 2023, and the exclusion of verified pensioners from the payroll managed by PTAD. Now, coordinator of the coalition, Mukaila Ogumbote, announced the suspension following assurances from concerned Nigerians that the Ministry of Finance and PTAD will take action to resolve the issues. Promised measures include the payment of 1 month arrears on 8th December, with further arrears to be settled shortly afterwards. Now, the coalition emphasizes that it reserves the right to resume protests should these commitments not be honored. Still talking about the protests in Lagos, pensioners from Nigeria's civil service have taken to the streets to demand the payment of their long overdue benefits. Now, they say, despite the federal government's approval of a 25,000 naira palliative in 2023 and an increase in their monthly pension arrears to 32,000 naira since 2024, none of these funds have reached them. The retirees are placing the blame on the relevant authorities, including the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, established to manage pension payments for federal government retirees under the old pension scheme. And now to speak on the Nigerian pensions protest and give us more updates, my colleague Sagir Ibrahim will be joining us live from Abuja. Sagir Ibrahim, 25,000 naira palliative and, of course, 30,000 naira increase. I mean, these pensioners haven't seen anything yet. Has the government responded to their cries?
Well, good afternoon, Blessings. At the moment, we're at the Federal Ministry of Finance, where we were expecting that this demonstration was going to take over activities here in the nation's capital. But behind me, as you can see, there's not so much activity going on. Matter of fact, you can see a canopy just by the gate of the Ministry of Finance. But I can tell you for certain that those are not pensioners, but rather those are members of the Association of Independent Contractors of Nigeria, who are also here demanding payment, for services rendered to the federal government over the course of the last few years that are yet to be paid. Now, this is away from the expectations that, we were hoping to see here. Nigerian pensioners, retired federal workers who had threatened on Friday to hit the streets should their demands not be met. We've been around 8 a.m. sharp with expectations that activities would start to shape up. In fact, we were even expecting to see this entire area cordoned off because of such. But then not so much has happened, save for the fact that these independent contractors have been seated here, over the course of the last, few hours. It's been a no-show for the protesters, but then we had cited a communication by one of them who had mentioned that sometime in the middle of the night, they had begged those who intended to participate in the protest to exercise some calm, because they had gotten some responses from the government that some of these demands were going to be met as at today. What are some of the demands? Blessings, you mentioned them. Payment of 25,000 25,000 naira wage award that has been accrued since 2023 till this point, an increment of their pension from the initial figure to around 32,000 naira, which up to this point most of them have not gotten. There's the issue of delayed payment of pensions. There's the issue of arrears and all of these conversations. They say that if the government does not fulfill their demands, they will be left with no option than to hit the streets naked this time, just to make a statement and to call global attention to what is going on to Nigerian pensioners and the fate that they've been so forced, to experience because of a lack of payment of this pension. But for here in the nation, there's been no activity, and since that statement came out, we've tried to do a follow-up, but we've not gotten any updates with that regard. But the expectation is in the next few days we may be seeing another communication come out from the pensioners to say what the next steps of action is going to be. But for now, we hear and we understand that the protest has been shelved in the meantime to allow for some action from the federal government. It's back to you in the studio. Blessings.
Thank you so much for the update on that, and definitely we'll see what the federal government is willing to do to alleviate their fears. All right, still talking about the pension concerns and the cries from the pensioners, we still have my colleague Victor Mbadike, who will be giving us an update regarding this as well. We'll bring him in shortly as soon as we have him to discuss this. But in the meantime, let's go to more stories. French President Emmanuel Macron says France will deepen its security partnership with Nigeria as the country faces rising terrorism in the northern region. Macron spoke with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, expressing France's solidarity and pledging increased support for affected communities. Now, he urged the international community to step up involvement, warning that global actors cannot afford to be passive in the face of worsening insecurity. His remarks come amid renewed global attention after former U.S. President Donald Trump claimed Christian communities in Nigeria are facing intensifying attacks and even threatened potential U.S. action. The federal government has not directly responded to Trump's statements, but Macron's message positions France as a key partner in addressing the crisis. Now, the federal government has secured the release of 100 school children abducted from St. Mary's private Catholic primary and secondary school, Papiri, in Agwara local government area, Niger State. Bandits on the 21st of November 2025 attacked the school in the remote community of Papiri. Arriving around 2 a.m. on motorbikes, the gunmen stormed the school dormitories over a 3-hour period, abducting 315 people, 303 students, and 12 teachers. Security forces and community hunters were deployed to comb nearby forests for the abductees. In the immediate aftermath, 50 pupils escaped within the first day and were reunited with their families. However, 265 individuals, including 253 children and 12 teachers, remained in captivity. And now going back to the story on the pensioners' cry for the pay that they're owed, we have my colleague Victor Mbadike, who will be giving us updates. He's currently live where the process is happening, and we want to hear from these pensioners. Victor, what is happening? They have been owed 25,000 naira palliative, and of course an increase of 30,000 naira, and they haven't seen it since 2023 when it was promised. What are they asking for?
To call them senior citizens of particular concern. They've had, it's not interesting for them in the last couple of years. They've come out here to say that the money's owed us the last couple of years in terms of their gratuities, the arrears, owed them by the federal government. Of course, they said, of course, that money was paid by the federal government to the relevant bodies like the PTAT, the body that manages the federal government retirees. But they say that those monies were actually paid to PTAT, for instance, but that money has not gotten out to them. You can see them in their numbers, in their closer, but they might look so small in number, but their voices are really loud, and they are saying that if these monies are not paid, we'll be back on the streets in the next 1 week or less, December 15th.
All right, unfortunately, we're expecting a bit of network issues, but as soon as we're able to reconnect with Victor, because we really want to hear from the senior citizens of particular concern, as Victor put it. But to more security matters now. Suspected terrorists have invaded Jigawa State, attacking Yalwa community in Guri local government area of a state. News Central has confirmed that soldiers have been swiftly deployed to the area, repelling the attack, which occurred in the early hours of Sunday. The terrorists allegedly burnt down houses, shooting sporadically before forcing the residents to flee from the community. Although the Jigawa State Police Command is yet to confirm the attack, some residents of the local government area and Dutse, the state capital, who pleaded anonymity, confirmed this incident. We have News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu joining us on the news to give us more updates on this. Emmanuel, what is the update on the Jigawa attacks? We've seen the visuals and it's quite horrific, to say the least. What went down in the state, in Dutse?
Terrorist migration, of course, from the Sahel. Well, you've seen that happen in Kano. Of course, Kano is just neighboring Jigawa State. You see the way this Kano State government reacting, they're sending these terrorists back. So they are actually looking for a refuge ground, and that's why they find themselves in that Yellowa community in the government area of Jigawa State. So it's unfortunate, and it's one of the instances of terrorist incursion from, of course, neighboring states around the northwest coming from the Sahel. And they are being sent away by the heated military operation that is happening in the Sahel, and will quickly settle in communities. So this is their tactics. They go in to chase people. When people run away, they come and then take over the community, take over their livestock, and then they continue terrorizing people. But you see that reaction from the military. The attack wasn't a surprise to them. We're able to act so fast, send these terrorists back to where they are coming from. That this will continue if the governors relax, because we've seen the governors meeting that happened last week, where they said they are voting around 1 billion to create a northern Nigeria security trust fund. But that's not enough. Of course, we have seen the issues of social intervention being raised, the issues of infrastructure. These are communities that are hard to reach. They are very vulnerable, and these governors have to meet up to their needs of infrastructure, road infrastructure, so that they will not look so attractive terrorists to always come and attack. So it's a case of terrorism incursion that will continue. And of course, if the government, the state government, did not attend the needs of these communities here.
Okay, so, in terms of response, definitely this attack has left people displaced. Are there any casualties or anyone injured? We're hoping not, but what's the situation with that? And what has been the response of the government and the appropriate authorities regarding that?
Yes, this very attack is a very devastating one. And the authorities are taking their time to take a census, to collate what really happened, because you've seen those pictures members sent to us. They are very horrible. The entire community, the entire Yellowa community, Pasari district, the entire community have been displaced. They have vacated the entire community because, of course, their livelihoods and their houses have been burned, and of course, their castles have been rustled. So it will take a lot of time for it to ascertain what the level of damage. And by the time they do that, they should be able to come up with the right figure. For now, there are no figures. What we know is that community has placed, that community has been sent packing by bandits. And then anything that has to do with the action from the government will take time, maybe not 24 or 48 hours. And this attack actually happened yesterday, Monday, 7th of December in the morning, in the early hours of yesterday.
All right, Emmanuel Bagudu, thank you for the update on that. We appreciate the feedback. All right, we go on a short break now. When we come back, Edo government demolishes buildings linked to cultism. We have the details after the break. Stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with us on the 12th report. Now we go back to the pension story that News Central has been following. And of course, we have Victor Mbadike still on standby to give us more updates. And he's, of course, flanked by the protesters. That's the pensioners who are hoping for what they're paid. And Victor, you did call them senior citizens of particular concern. Can you please continue with the updates that you were giving us earlier?
I was about to introduce the chairman of the Coalition for Federal Pensioners, who is here with me. That's Mr. Kremli Mukaila Ogumbote, who would be giving us a breakdown of exactly what has really transpired over the years. So let's us hear from him straight off. So, Kremli Mukaila, tell us exactly what are the real and the main issues, and why are you and your people here this afternoon?
Once again, I'm Kremli Mukaila Ogumbote, National Chairman, Coalition of Federal Pensioners. We are here for the pressing for the right, our right, 32,000 pension increment since 2024, July 2024 precisely. We don't see in anywhere in any country that the federal government approved money for pensioners since 2024 up till now. They are not announced the payment of that money up till now, and that payment is causing us a serious hardship. That's why we are here. We are here to say the protest against our 25,000 palliative money since October 2023. 6 months, 25,000 palliative money. Today, we want to say the legal protest because of intervention of prominent people of Nigeria. They are appealing to us. They know the image and the cost on whosoever that the president of the country that will be on them. So we are honored then. We are now use opportunity to help us engage those who are holding our money. Based on that, we are not giving them till now, till Friday, to pay us our money in totality. Failure to do that, we are going our legal protest on the 15th of December, 2025.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, you did say, sir, that you are so sure that that money was disbursed to, for instance, Peter. How sure are you? Do you have
we are not. We don't know where it is being paid, but the accountant general and the finance minister knows where the money is. If they have paid to Peter, they will have paid us. I know Peter will not have kept to that particular something, but have Mr. Edu paid to finance, or finance paid to accountant general, that he has, maybe he has instructed accountant general to give to Peter. If they have paid Peter, I knew Peter will have paid us, but we have not seen money. The only thing we are looking for is our money.
This is Sadu. Before I let you go, very quickly, please step forward. I know we're pressed for time. Very quickly,
yeah.
I know you're a mother too, and you're also affected by all of this. What are your last thoughts, very quickly?
My last statement, by God's grace, is that we don't want our payment to be in batches again. We want full payment of our money. Like with the Pure Federal, they are owing us 7 months, 32,000. If you calculate it for 7 months, it resulted to 224,000. While the parastatals like the NIPOs, they are owing them 6 months. If you calculate for that 6 months, it's 192,000. I don't think this money is too big for them to pay. They are collecting money in millions. How much is 224,000, 192,000 to them? That they are giving us, they've taken us as a dunghill, that they can just throw anything as they like onto us. We are rejecting that now. They should pay us the full money this month, at least for us to laugh, at least for us to enjoy our work, our labor, that yes, we are truly a worker before, and we are enjoying the labor that we have rendered to the federal government.
All right, blessings you did here. This aged senior citizens, if you like, some of them have retired since 2006 or even before that, and then for you to have them in clusters means that they are really serious about their demands. They're quite old. They don't expect to stand too much, protesting. So that's it from here in Lagos. Blessings.
So I want to quickly find out, Victor, before we let you go, are these people representing the majority, and what is the guarantee that the protest, they will have this much numbers when it's actually time for the protest? That's if their demands are not met. Do they have like a community of persons? Do they have leaders who are championing the cause? And how would they make sure that they hold the appropriate authorities accountable to make sure that their demands are met?
Blessings, they seem tight because there's really very little they can do. The only thing they can do is to lend their voices. All of them that you see here all represent several bodies coming together under the platform of federal pensioners. So it's a collective force. You might see them in small numbers, but that's because some of them are really old and cannot be out here. So for those who you see out there, because they see have some little strength left in their bodies, so it's okay for them to do some exercises. But they are saying that they are not asking for too much. much. I mean, the monies, they're asking for are just stipend, 25,000 naira, 32,000 naira, and they're saying, see, a lot of them would really wish that their grandchildren or their children really, cover up for such embarrassments. But in case they don't, the little they get from government should not be a problem. So they are saying, just give us that little that we our benefits, basically. We're not asking for too much. And if you don't give this out to us, we might be back here again, maybe in a very worst situation. In fact, as matter of fact, you could have them in much more larger numbers. But this might just be a warning shot, blessings, if you want to put it that way. They're just small in number, but it's just a signal, a message being sent to whoever needs to find, whoever needs to listen. And that's the point. The next 1 week or less or more, they will be coming out in their masses, in their mass numbers, blessings.
Badike, there with the update on the pensioners who are protesting for the palliatives and, of course, the increase in pension monthly that they're owed since 2023. And definitely we'll see how the authorities respond to that. Now, some more stories. The federal government is unveiling a new initiative aimed at empowering students beyond the classroom. The program is designed to support innovation and entrepreneurship among students in tertiary institutions nationwide. For details on what this initiative entails and how it is expected to operate, News Central's Sumaya Abubakar is standing by at the venue as we speak. Sumaya, what is the Student Venture Capital Grant designed to achieve?
Good afternoon, a blessing. Yes, the Student Venture Capital Program, which is the SVCG, is meant, according to the federal government here. The Minister of the Education is saying that this program is meant to encourage, students who have great mind and great ideas in order to fund them and also give them national visibility to their businesses. So the main aim of this, of course, is, according to them, is innovation, which is to say that they are encouraging, this.
All right, we'll definitely come back to Sumaya Abubakar as soon as we can have her join us. For now, the Miners Association of Nigeria says banning mining activities in the country is not the solution to security challenges in the country. The association made this known in a statement jointly signed by its national president, Dele Anyokale, and its national secretary, Suleiman Liman, on Monday in Abuja. Northern States Governors Forum recently called for the suspension of mining activities for 6 months following the abduction of school children and killings in some states. However, MAN's president said the victims of such bans were usually legitimate stakeholders, as illegal miners mostly linked with terrorists would still have access to mineral resources due to the government's poor logistics and personnel to enforce compliance. Now, talking politics, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has described the recent certificate of expulsion issued him and several other members of the People's Democratic Party by a faction of the party as a joke taking too far. Now, Wike made this known during the party's National Working Committee and National Executive Committee meetings in Abuja by a parallel faction led by him and chaired the National Secretary of the party, Samuel Ayaun. He also criticized the faction over the party's recent national convention held in Ibadan, Oyo State, saying that their attempts at seeking the validation of the court for the convention is proof that it had no legitimacy and the breach of laid-down laws.
The worst of what I've had is the certificate of expulsion. I'm not going to abuse the status of a student advocate, but it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the student advocate of Nigeria will come up with something that never existed anywhere to say that certificate of expulsion. It's very much unfortunate. Very much unfortunate. Somebody who said the convention took place had filed a suit at the Federal High Court in Abuja to recognize them as officers of the party. I have never seen anything like it. You know that you are the one. You said the convention has taken place. And that you said court gave you the authority to go ahead. Now you have filed a suit now at the Federal High Court. I thought they would have gone back to the state High Court.
And now the Edo State government has stepped up efforts to fight cultism and criminal activities in Uromi, Eson, North-East local government area. As part of the operation, several buildings linked to secret cult groups have been demolished, while 15 persons were arrested for possession of illicit drugs in a separate raid. News Central's Amenzi Bazwai has more.
Bulldozers tore through buildings in Uromi, turning structures allegedly linked to cult activities into rubble. The operation followed weeks of tension after a violent clash between two confraternities on November 16. Security sources say 31 suspects were initially arrested during a major raid on November 17 by the State Special Security Squad in collaboration with the Nigerian Army and other security agencies. Leaders of the cult groups were given a 7-day ultimatum to surrender, but none complied.
It's crystal clear that the governor is not playing, and we that he has mandated to carry out the exercise, we are not playing too. Everybody is complaining about the insecurity in the state, in the country at large, and we are not happy about it. Even while we still pass this warning, some persons want to stand or want to behave as if they are above the law, but we will definitely catch up with you.
The demolition, executed under the supervision of the principal security officer to Governor Monday Okpeolu, with support from the divisional police officer in Uromi, local vigilantes, the Esan Northeast Anti-Kidnapping Committee, and the Nigerian Army. The property will now be repurposed by the Edo State government as operational basis. In a separate raid, security operatives swooped on the Hausa quarters after receiving intelligence about illicit drug activities. 15 suspects were arrested and transferred to the Uromi divisional headquarters for profiling and further investigation. Among those arrested, a suspected marijuana dealer confessed to selling drugs alongside 2 others in the Hausa quarters.
On getting there, you can see the quantity of drugs gathered, and we got these persons arrested in the process. From there, we will hand them over to the police for further investigation and prosecution.
The Okpeolu administration has reaffirmed its commitment to stamping out cultism, kidnapping, and all forms of criminality in Edo State. For the residents of Uromi, the government's actions send a clear message: no one is above the law. In Edo, for News Central, Ameze Bazwai.
All right, we go back now to Sumaya Bakar to give us updates on the Student Venture Capital Grant, and she's currently at the venue. Sumaya, what is this grant designed to achieve?
Yes, Blessing. Like I said, apologies. Sorry, the grant, of course, is all for students in order to give them visibility. According to them, it says the bold student-led initiative for their businesses. According to the Minister of Education, Tunja Lausa, he said that this is, of course, the reason mainly is for innovation, to push and boost the young minds of Nigerian students into creating something great and robust, because according to him, a lot of advanced states and universities, or countries and universities, started their businesses from the universities and tertiary institutions. He also said that this is for investment gap, because a lot of ideas come and die without basic funding, and so the federal government is releasing 50 million naira each for every different business ideas. That is really great, even though there is, of course, a clause to that. And he also said is to accelerate success, saying that we have seen how some, success stories have come from universities, business initiative, and so the main aim is to push for more, and hopefully we grow the economy.
So who is eligible to benefit from this program, and how will this program work?
Blessings, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, please. I'm trying to ask you who is eligible to benefit from this program, and how exactly will it work?
I mean, talking about, of course, the students that will benefit, it says, first of all, you have to be from 300 level and above, and yes, postgraduate students as well, PhD, MSc can also, get this. But there's a clause for the under, 300 level, saying 200 and 100 level. That is, if at all the group, because it's not something that sponsors just one individual student. You have to form a group to be a venture, a big business. So in that group, there can be members from 100 and 200 level. Another clause for it to make you eligible, saying that business must be signed to the CAC. It must be registered and approved by the government. Also, it says that it has to be a business on the STEM, that's STEMS, talking about the science, it has to come with science, ventures creating tangible solutions and scientific research, biotechnology and agricultural innovation. And then technology, it has to do with tech-driven ventures, talking about using software, AI, hardware, to solve specific challenges. Also engineering-based, they talked about, of course, examples of National State University been getting attention of investment in terms of mining. So that is another aspect that they will, of course, push in terms of infrastructure and industrial systems. There's also about mathematics, talking about...
All right, that was Sumaya Abubakar giving us an update on that initiative. Now, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board has continued to support Nigerian youths in their pursuit of self-determination and reliance through skills, training, and workshops. The initiative recently trained 50 youths in web design, data analysis, and digital marketing, boosting competitiveness. News Central's Biola Festus reports.
Information and communication technology is the backbone of modern data science, empowering big data analytics and machine learning, making complex analysis efficient and accessible.
They said Nigerian youths are unemployable, but if they are equipped with skills, they cannot be employable. They cannot be self-reliant. They can even be self-employed to even employ others. So I want to appreciate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for this initiative and also for this kind gesture, and also Engineer Felix Omotsola for this initiative, giving for the youths to be empowered and strengthened to be able to sustain them and take them off the streets.
The NCDMB's initiative aligns with the growing importance of ICT in modern life, driving economic growth, enhancing learning, and boosting business efficiency. ICT remains one of the crucial fields of interest for the NCDMB. Consequently, by training and certifying 50 Niger Delta youths in ICT-related fields like web design, data analysis, and digital marketing, the board aims to empower them to thrive in the digital age.
It has been a wonderful training so far, with a lot of impacts coming from RCYS Construction and Nigeria Limited through the NCDMB training. From the website development to data analysis to the digital marketing, it has been very impactful. And I believe that after today, most of us will go outside and expand it, and then we explore. And then I believe also that this also will be another source of livelihood to some of us. I will also urge that more of these programs should also be created to impact more on Nigerians.
Reports indicate that Nigeria faces a digital skill gap in ICT. However, with the trainings activated by NCDMB, beneficiaries are upbeat about creating job opportunities for themselves and others.
I wanted to pay money for this, and then opportunity came, and then by grace of God I was among the people that was appointed for it, and I am grateful for it. So along the line I was taught on web development, data analysis and digital marketing. Laptop was issued to every one of us, about 50 of us that is here, HP laptop, and it's an encouragement for us to live here and go and continue with what we have learned from where they ended. NCDMB, we are grateful.
I'll beat my chest and say today I am proud to call myself a data analyst based on the knowledge that has been imparted on me, and I look forward to utilizing the skills for my own good and for the good of mankind.
NCDMB's efforts in skills and manpower development are yielding significant results, including the creation of over 50,000 direct jobs and more than 12 million training man-hours since its inception. In Rivers, for News Central, Biola Festus.
And now to some business stories. Nigeria's naira is expected to strengthen toward 1,445 naira per US dollar as global investors anticipate interest rate cuts by the US Federal Reserve. A Fed pivot would reduce yields on dollar assets and redirect capital towards emerging markets, positioning Nigeria to benefit from renewed portfolio inflows. Now, increased foreign exchange liquidity from these inflows could ease pressure on the naira, which has faced extended volatility. A stronger naira would help reduce import costs, moderate inflation, and lower the burden of dollar-denominated debt for businesses and government entities. It could also boost confidence in Nigeria's financial markets, improving participation in bonds and fixed income securities. However, the outlook remains cautious. The currency's trajectory depends on the actual timing of Fed cuts, global risk conditions, and Nigeria's ability to sustain FX supply. Domestic inflation, oil revenue performance, and central bank policy decisions will determine whether any appreciation is temporary or lasting. Coming up on the news, Benin's President Talon confirms situation under control after foiled coup. We'll bring you the details in a bit. Stay with us. So staying with us now, the news continues in West Africa, where President of the Republic of Benin, Patrice Talon, has assured citizens that the situation following a recent coup attempt is fully under control. After a group of soldiers declared his ousting on state television, loyal military forces, supported by Nigerian troops and airstrikes, swiftly regained control. Arrests have been made of those involved in the plot. The president emphasized stability and urged the public to continue their daily activities peacefully. President Talon reiterated that he remains committed to overseeing a smooth transition of power scheduled for April 2026, following a decade marked by economic progress and increasing security challenges in that region.
De soldats, sous prétexte de revendications fallacieuses, a entrepris une mutinerie à l'effet de s'attaquer aux institutions de la République et de déstabiliser notre nation en remettant ainsi en cause l'ordre démocratique. Une telle entreprise aurait eu pour conséquence de plonger notre pays dans une aventure sans lendemain, aux conséquences désastreuses. Je voudrais vous rassurer que la situation est totalement sous contrôle et vous inviter, par conséquent, à vaquer sereinement à vos occupations dès ce soir même. La sécurité et l'ordre public seront maintenus partout sur le territoire national pour garantir la liberté d'aller et de venir à toutes et à tous.
And now, speaking of handovers, news reaching us in the studio confirms that Côte d'Ivoire's President Alassane Ouattara has been sworn in for a fourth five-year term following his landslide victory in the 25 October presidential election. He secured 89.77% of the vote, a result confirmed earlier this month by the Constitutional Council. Ahead of the ceremony, several African leaders arrived in Abidjan on Sunday. Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye was welcomed by Vice President Teomoko Meli Kone, who also received Gabon's Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema, Mauritania's Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, and Congo's Denis Sassou Nguesso. The inauguration is currently underway at the Presidential Palace, with vice presidents, prime ministers, and officials from international institutions in attendance. The gathering highlights the regional significance of Ouattara's continued leadership.
République de Côte d'Ivoire, Union, discipline, travail. Procès verbal de prestation de serment du président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire, numéro CI.
All right, what you're watching there is Côte d'Ivoire's President Alassane Ouattara being sworn in for a fourth five-year term following his landslide victory in the 25 October presidential election. Now, the inauguration is currently underway at the presidential palace with vice presidents, prime ministers, and officials from international institutes in attendance. And this gathering highlights the regional significance of Ouattara's continued leadership. And now to more stories. The 5 suspects allegedly linked to the recruitment of South Africans to fight in the Russia-Ukraine war have returned to the Kempton Park Magistrates Court in Johannesburg. Police say a preliminary investigation revealed that a South African woman had been facilitating the travel and recruitment of individuals into the Russian Federation's military. Now, in November, the South African government confirmed it had received distress calls from 17 citizens trapped in Ukraine's war-torn Donbas region after joining a mercenary force. News Central's Bongani Siziba has been following this story, and we cross over now to her to give us more. All right, Bongani, if you can hear me, what is the update on this situation and what's happening at the court proceeding as we speak?
Good afternoon to you, Blessings, and also our viewers at home. We are at the Kempton Park Magistrate Court, where we've been seated in the corridors since 7 a.m., just waiting for us to be let in, or rather the 5 accused to appear. In this court. We know that these 5 accused were arrested last week on Friday for luring young men in South Africa into fighting the Russian war. We know that they are supposed to appear this afternoon, and out of the 5, we know that there is a media personality who is also who is fingered that she's the one who has been recruiting these young men. But there is also a 21-year-old that is among the 4 men that are there. And looking at it, Blessings, look at it, what exactly lures these young men to go and fight in Russia? We look at the unemployment rate, the poverty in South Africa. If someone is approached with such, they would take the offer, because we understand that most of them were promised to be given around $2,000 US, which is much for someone who lives in the rural area in this given such opportunity. But what we know is that the investigations are still going on. We know that also the former President Zuma's daughter, that is Duduzile Zuma, is also fingered around this case, that she is part of those that were recruiting these young men to Russia. But the Hawks, together with the police, are also investigating to see how big these networks are, because we understand that this network is not only in South Africa. We have seen the news that also there are Kenyans, Zimbabweans who are also missing, who have been taken to Russia to be fighting this war. So the syndicate seems to be very big, but also the family members of those 17 young men that are in Russia, that we know are in Russia, have come out to talk to the media about what exactly is going on.
All right, that was Mongani Siziba there. And now to stories outside the continent. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to meet UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London on Monday for high-level consultations with European allies, as Kiev pushes for stronger defense commitments and clarity on a proposed US-backed peace plan. The visit comes as Ukraine faces renewed Russian strikes and growing pressure to consider diplomatic options. Officials say the talks will focus on military assistance, air defense shortfalls, joint defense production, and broader European coordination on security guarantees. Zelensky described the consultations as essential to maintaining unity and reinforcing Ukraine's resilience heading into 2026. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by our senior international correspondent and anchor, Afia Hagan. Afia, tell us, what can you expect from the talks with President Zelensky and the Prime Minister Starmer today?
These talks are less about finalising a peace deal. Those talks have been going on with the US President's team, with the United States team and the Russian teams inadvertently over the past week in Miami. These talks are particularly about the Ukraine shoring up that support from Europe and its allies, from the UK, that coalition of the willing that we've been hearing about over the past 10 months. It's just about making sure that that support is still in place. So should any ceasefire deal come to fruition, Zelensky knows what part Europe is going to play, if any, whether that's a peacekeeping force, whether that's continuing to make sure Ukraine has the right weapons and munitions it needs to continue the war if necessary, or to bring the war to a close. Starmer and his allies, the rest of the European leaders who are perhaps going to be present later on in the day at this meeting, it's their deal, or they're going to be all about making sure the Ukraine can respect its sovereignty, making sure that it can keep the land that is theirs, that it doesn't lose too much in any ceasefire deal. So like I say, this meeting in London, less about actually finalising a deal and more about making sure that the UK and Europe remain allies and shore up that safety net for the Ukraine if any deal should be done.
Can you also tell us what's the latest on the peace talks to end the war in Ukraine with the US, Russia, and of course Ukraine?
Yeah, these peace talks we've been hearing about for the past couple of weeks. It seems that sometimes we're getting to a point where it could be a breakthrough and then there's not. You have Vladimir Putin talking about the length of the talks, saying that it's taken 5 hours. We had the US President Donald Trump in the past few hours saying that President Zelensky hasn't read the peace deal. The US have come up with this 27-point peace plan. We don't really know the details of that. And of course, that's what's being picked apart in those meetings. What bits one side is going to say yes to, one side is going to say no to. So 3 days of negotiations took place in Florida. We still don't have a finalized deal come out of that. There's definitely pressure to get a quick resolution, especially from the United States. We know that President Trump gets bored very quickly with things. And his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has actually been talking about this and saying that the US president may move on from trying to get peace in the Ukraine if it doesn't happen quickly. It's coming off his radar. It's something that he's becoming bored with. He's looking to move on to the next thing. So as it stands, the deal is far from done. We may be in the final furlong, the final stretch of it, but that stretch seems to be very, very long. And at the moment, these negotiations are ongoing.
All right, Afia Hagan, thank you so much for bringing us the update on that. And like you said, the negotiations are ongoing, so we're going to look out to see how that turns out. All right, let's go back to what we told you earlier. Nigeria woke up to a rare moment of relief as news broke that at least 100 abducted school children from Niger State have been freed again. According to government briefings, the release followed what they call sustained pressure from security forces, intense negotiations. No ransom was confirmed, as usual. No armed confrontation was disclosed, as usual. Now, just a familiar, quiet rescue that leaves more questions than answers, and we've been seeing a lot of that lately. Nigerians are glad the children are safe, always, but the silence around how it happened is becoming its own pattern. Now, this is not the first time the country has seen mass releases without clear explanations. Officials will often credit intelligence work and coordinated operations, but the absence of transparency creates rooms for speculation. Were the kidnappers overpowered? Did community leaders intervene? Was there a deal behind closed doors? Were they arrested? How many casualties? Nobody's saying much. And when you leave an information vacuum, in a security crisis especially, the public feels it with suspicion. But all that matters, though, is that it's beginning to look like Nigerians are getting a glimmer of hope and can almost be assured that kidnappers won't have a hold on those in captive for too long. Now, moments like this one reminds us what is possible when the state truly applies pressure. Now, if the government wants to rebuild public confidence, this rescue should not be a one-off headline. It needs to be the standard. Nigerians are tired of trauma cycles. Now, at some point, the real victory will be when no parent has to wait by the phone, praying for a call that their child is safe. And don't forget that we also need to know how these people are apprehended, if they are, because that and only then is when Nigerians can truly feel safe. That seems like a good start, but we've got a lot of work to do. That's your postscript. Now, before we go, let's take a look at what's happening in the sporting world. The Athletics Integrity Unit has given Nigeria until January 16 to resolve under-18, under-20 age discrepancies involving 16 athletes, and failure to comply could lead to full investigation, sanctions, and questions on federation's integrity. Odoka Njoko, are you ready for us?
In the Nigeria sports, and just recently it was confirmed that there were a lot of age discrepancies right there, and we'll wait until January if Nigeria will get to clear that or not. But we look forward to in the game, we'll get to deal with that with our guests who would give us more analysis on that situation. All
right, thank you, Doka. Like you said, we'll wait till January, but what you don't have to wait for is in the game because it's coming up shortly. Now, that's all on the 12 report today. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen because we want to see what you see. Also, do also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Now, you can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, on GoTV, channel 23, if you've got Star Times 274, Avo TV, and, of course, on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Musugu.